one more minute and we'll start. I promise not to hold you guys up too long, I know.
Hey, Rudy, this is John.
Hey, John, how you doing, Mr. Rudy?
Good. Good. How are you guys?
Good. I think we have Shane on, Doris, Kendra, John, myself. Wait one more minute. Somebody else on. Can you guys see my screen?
I can.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. I hope there's nothing bad on it. Okay, well, we'll get started. I see Joe just joined us.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
How you doing?
Good.
I wanted to touch on two things today. One of them was the handling of sub-assemblies in Epicor, and the other one was kind of the touch points that we anticipate seeing out on the shop floor. Where do we want to track our jobs? You know, if we want to track our jobs, and then how often, or do we need to know where they're at the time? So first of all, I'm going to show you guys this one thing. It is it's how sub-assemblies go within Epicor. I created a test part, and this test part has certain operations that you normally see on your process sheet.
Mm-hmm.
The last process would be recording the QC final assembly, and that's what really has the total amount of minutes. The material here you see, this one is a sub-assembly. And please don't hold me to this. I was just making this up as I went on a few minutes ago. Here are the operations to make this 45106X22, and here are the three materials that it takes to make that sub-assembly. So as Kenny is creating this assembly revision, he is telling the system, I also need this sub-assembly. Okay? And the system will know, unlike the way you're doing it currently in Sage, the system knows that it needs also the material for the sub-assembly. And I'll show you how it breaks that down. Here's the 45106X22. And it shows you there, it needs these three pieces of material for that one in particular. And then this is the finished good, the test part finished good. It tells me, okay, I need those four pieces of material plus the other three pieces that comprise the other three pieces that comprise the sub-assembly. Okay, you can also view the cost, and that coordinate tells you there's labor, there's material, this what it'll cost. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what Doris does is whenever Kendra gives her an order for one of these, as you see here, it breaks it down by sub-assembly. She'll go into Epicor, and this is what we've been training and working on. And she will build a job to fulfill that order that Kendra just gave her. In this case, I'm going to call it test job. And we're going to build that test part that Kenny just built. I'm going to build it to stock. And I'm just going to build one of them, quantity of one. And I need it by November 10th. Okay. So then she's got to go get the rev. So she'll go get details. I know I'm going kind of fast on this, but I just want you to see how it handles sub-assembly. If you notice right here where it says sub-assembly, what it's saying is, to build this test part, I need this sub-assembly for this part. Here's my regular material needed, plus the sub-assembly material. She's going to go ahead and engineer and release this job. And what that tells Epicor is, when she runs her buy report, which we call purchasing suggestions, see these in red? It's telling her, I have material constraints. I need to buy these based on min-max and whatever she has set up in there. And this material requirements report tells you there's your assembly, the 4 pieces, and there's your sub-assembly. And it tells you how many you have on demand, how many you should buy, etc. Okay? I know that's a pretty quick overview of that, but I just want you guys to kind of get a feel for how that works in Epicor. And John, if we need to meet offline about that, we can, or with Joe or whatever. Then the second thing I wanted to show you guys, which I showed Shane, was how do you tell Epicor where we're at in the process with the job? And this is a very simple one. There's this MES portion of Epicor, which is kind of a called down version of Epicor. You have an employee ID out on the production floor. Good looking guy there. And he would put in the job number and what assembly am I working on. This tells Epicor, I am quality employee 1. I'm working on this one. And what Tom and them would do at the end is they would report quantity right before it goes into shipping. They put any notes in there. You can see it completes it. That is all you do to report a quantity. Okay? So my question to you guys is, in the case of Epicor, where's going to be the touch points out on the production floor where you would need to know? And I know it's a problem because Kendra and Kenny have mentioned that sometimes the customer will call and they'll say, okay, I need to change my order, or where is it? How close are you to being done, or whatever. We kind of need to know when it's cut and kitted. I'm thinking that's one place.
Mhm.
And then second is, when does Kathy give it to people in production to start to work on?
Correct.
And then maybe we need to know when it's QC'd the first time or in process, or I don't know. That's kind of my question. Joe and I were wondering, how is that going to be handled? So I'll kind of open it up to you guys if you guys have any suggestions for, because it's easy to build a report. Joe can back me up on this, where I can just say, oh, if a customer calls, I just type in that part number and it'll tell me the job's here, it's been cut. Erna has it, or Chris has it, somebody has it on the floor, or it's in QC, or maybe it's already past final QC and it's in shipping. Very easily at a glance, you don't have to call anybody and have to go look. It's just on your dashboard. So my question is, how often do we need to know those things? Because there'll have to be somebody go into one of these MES terminals and record, okay, I'm done. Kind of like I showed you here.
What do you think, Kendra? I mean, it's one of these things that you don't want to add too many steps, because now you're taking as much time to keep track of it as you are actually working on it.
Well, exactly. I would definitely have it get kitted. That should be definitely a step. When it gets to the floor and who's got it, definitely. I don't know if, I mean, I don't want to add too much, like you said, but I mean, we have first pieces and we have crim checks and we have final, then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where's the halfway point in there? I don't know. That's hard to answer.
I don't think moving to production would be a good enough step. And then when it moves out of production into final QC.
Yeah, final QC would be beneficial.
And then out of final QC to shipping.
Yeah.
So basically there's like 4 major steps, and I think much more than that, and now we're taking more time to keep track of it than we need to.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Well, I mean, it's not very cumbersome as far as, you can see here, you would get it, you would scan the job number, tell it what you're doing, it'll be final QC here probably, and then you would say, okay. And then you would end activity, which tells the system, I'm done with my part, I'm turning in 100 pieces over to shipping or to QC or wherever. So, I mean, this process, if it's up and running on one of those terminals we put out there, could be done in a
Yeah, I think that's why it makes sense for like final QC to put theirs in, and then when it moves out of final QC into shipping, then that way not only is the operation, but the documenting of the operation goes along with it. I think if we start logging in processes and first pieces and all this other stuff, it's going to become cumbersome. That's my opinion of it anyway.
Okay.
What about prep?
Tracks. That'll be another whole topic of conversation, I think.
Sorry, not tracks. Prep.
You mean like kitting and cutting, Joe?
Yeah, so normally the checkpoints that we have at Atronics is once it's to production and they've started it, there's a step we call documentation complete, which means that it's now actually released to production to begin. Then there's a kit complete when it's done in kitting. And then there's a assembly. Once it's in assembly, then there's a finished, and then there's a, in inventory. But seems like there's always a lot of questions around what's in prep and what's finished in prep and what's in assembly. That's why I mentioned.
I think because Atronics does their prepping a lot different than we do. They have like specific people that do pinning, specific people that do prepping, and then it moves on to production. Where when it goes to production, we're doing the prepping and pinning and all that with one operator.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Not to mention that the size of our jobs are usually fairly small, so it wouldn't stay at any of those operations very long anyway.
Okay.
Well, then what I'm hearing, what I foresee is Doris, you released a job to Tammy and Lori. They will kit it, QC it, and release the material to production and put it in one of those tubs. And that's one step. At least we know it's been released. The materials are fed to the job.
Yeah.
Then maybe the second step would be, now it's released to production. We'll teach Kathy how to make it pretty simple. You boom, it's out, and I gave it to so-and-so. That could be our assembly. And then final QC would be the third and final one, I think. And then shipping, of course, but no one has to touch anything. It'll know when it's shipped. So I'm looking at 3 touch points. And is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be correct.
Yeah, it'd be 3 to 4, Rudy, depending. If, kitting would be 1, production would be 1, QC would be 1, and then shipping would be 1.
Okay. Well, that's what this meeting was about. So.
Okay. But I wanted to ask a question. On the templates that we looked at, we had like 15 operations on the template. Do we need to keep all those operations out there?
Well, I don't think they've seen them yet, Joe. I was just putting them out there based on, what I saw on the process sheet.
Right.
It's always easier to add more than to take them away.
For you.
So I'd say maybe we start with these 4.
Yeah. Have you guys talked about those operations at all?
Mark's been talking to Kenny about them. And we thought they would come in handy on time studies and stuff, but right off the bat, not really. We don't really have a way to track how long it takes to put a term on, how long it takes to crimp something.
Okay.
Hi, I've got a question. What if I'm giving a job out to somebody, but it's going to go to like 3 different people?
That's a good question.
It doesn't matter.
That's true, because this is just marking where it's at in the process.
Yeah, we're not using them to actually do any type of costing, I don't think either, right?
No, because it's all back to us.
Yeah, it's all going to be backfished on the last operation.
Yeah.
If I have a job for 300 and 100 of them go to QC and out to shipping, there's a way of doing that, and then the next 100 and the next 100?
Yep. You can quantity complete the quantities that you're actually complete.
Right. Does that answer your question, Kevin?
Well, a little bit, because like you were saying how when I'm putting it out on the floor, that I would actually be assigning it to someone, but I guess that I would just assign it to one person and then give it to three. That's what I want to do.
Yeah, and I kind of know what you're talking about because I saw the notes that you guys make in Sage on like, okay, I give it this to so-and-so and this to so-and-so. I can actually create you something like that to help keep track of it that way as well. Does that make sense? But I did want to run that by you. Does anybody else have anything else?
I think
No,
I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Okay, thanks, Shane. Sandra, Chris, everybody, Doris, Kathy.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank
Okay,
you.
Rudy. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey guys, this is Mark. Actually, I